All right, so can you hear me? We're going to go ahead and get started. First off, thank you guys for being here. The cool thing for me is that I've seen the value of what this conference has brought to so many of my team members there at the college, and so I feel bad for those that don't take the time to come, but it's a great opportunity for those that do. So really looking forward to sharing with you here. The cool thing about this for me is this has kind of been the story of my life, is just, and really anybody that's gotten anywhere realizes how critically important your network is. And for the sake of this, it's build your nautical network. I mean, because obviously we're here, we're talking about fishing, we're talking about the industry and the opportunities that present itself. And over the last 15 years, with my job there at the college as the bass fishing coach, it's just been a story of just networking to the nth degree. And so before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I want to introduce these guys and just tell them thanks for helping me out with it. So my name is Seth Borton. Again, I'm the coach at Adrian College. I got Griffin Fernandez. He's from Indianapolis, Indiana. He is a sophomore on the team. And then I got Adam Nye, who came up through the college ranks and is now fishing the Bassmaster Opens. And then I got Jimmy Bell, who's been a part of the NPAA for quite a while, has done some incredible things, not just with this organization, but all across the fishing landscape. So super excited to have these guys here with me. I get the easy part. I get to preface a few things and then let these guys steal the show. So we're good to go there. So just if we look at some of the nautical network essentials, for me, and obviously you've heard this as a common thread throughout the conference, so much of everything boils down to, a passion. And for me, if you take that and break it down a little bit further, passion equals a motivation and passion equals drive. If I look at the things in my life that I'm super passionate about, it causes 100% increased motivation, and then the drive to want to do things above and beyond what I may do in other realms of my life is 100% there. And then we got a willingness to do what others aren't. When it comes down to building the network, in my opinion, some of the critical things that have caused that to happen is because at the very beginning, whether it was myself or other people that I was connected to, they were willing to do the things that other people weren't willing to do. And just some applicable things for you guys as it may come to something close to what you're surrounded by right now. If you're at a show and you have somebody that that you see packing up a booth or anything that you could help with, holding doors, whatever, you just never know what those type of gestures will lead to. And I can't even begin to explain how many opportunities I've had through just asking if I could lend a helping hand, looking for an opportunity to do so, and really just shining shoes around every corner. I mean, these guys have heard me say in many ways that the story of our team and the opportunities that we have is a result of a pair of work gloves and shining a few shoes that has created plenty of opportunities for us. Thirdly, usually the word spongy and foundation don't go together in terms of a regular building project, but in terms of your network, I can't find much of a better word than you have to be a sponge. Obviously, when you're starting out, you only have the experience that you've either read, that you've gained from fishing with other people or being around other people, or experiencing it for yourself. And the only other way that I've found that's just a phenomenal way to gather these things is to just be a sponge. I mean, I can't even, the amount of conversations that I've gleaned valuable information from that I wasn't directly a part of, but I was standing close to and I was listening with open ears going, wow, I never even thought about something like that. So just looking for opportunities to sponge information from other people, and there's really no better place to do that than at an event like this. Obviously being on the water with as many different people that, utilize different techniques and fish different ways. That's a huge way to be a sponge as far as on the water application. But if you can be a lay a spongy foundation in this process, you're going to go a long ways, because there's just no better way to gather information than to just be looking for those that can share it with you. So that's the third one. The fourth one would be communication, written and verbal. Obviously, you hear a ton of stuff about, you know, communicating and why it's so critically important. But everything to do with communication in regards to the network, people from every single angle.
So communication, he's talking about written and verbal, right? As we write and send emails out, that portrays who we are, right? So if we're writing an email to a sponsor, the way you write that email is going to portray the type of person that you are. So it's critical that you know what you're going to be talking about. It's also critical how you write that email and the follow-up that goes with it. But I think more importantly with the whole thing is the verbal side of it. So we talk about emails, text, Instagram, Facebook, all this other stuff. But honestly, the most important part is being able to sit down and talk to somebody face to face. So you want to be able to look at them and communicate what your message is. So I think I'm doing this now. Can we go back one more again? Thank you. I'm going to quit touching the button. I'm just going to yell at you when I need to do this. So the communication, like I said, the verbal part, the other thing you will find is in the verbal piece, you get a lot more done, right? I can send an email to Dave here. He sends me an email back. I send another one to Dave, or I can call him and we can get something done. So verbal communication becomes just as important as the other side of it. So I'm going to kind of hand over to Griffin, let him, we keep changing all by itself up here, so. Nope, right there, the one that says Griffin. So we're going to let Griffin talk a little bit about his background and some of the things as he sees on the screen up here. So, and I'm going to do a quick check.
All right, so my name is Griffin Fernandez. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a sophomore up at Adrian College, and I've been tournament bass fishing since I was 13. So a little background about how I got my start. When I moved to Indiana, I moved onto a pond, and I was already a huge fisherman, so of course I ran straight to the pond and kept poking these really big fish that kept breaking me off, and I had no clue what they were. And I started to get really interested in how to catch these fish. Well, I noticed my neighbor would go down and catch these giant bass, and I was super interested in what he was doing and the techniques he was using to catch these bass. So I got really close with my neighbor, and I started to learn from him, and I started to catch these bass. And from that point on, I was hooked. So about my 7th grade year, I was at the Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show, and I found a tournament flyer for these youth bass fishing tournaments. And I was really interested. I've been pond fishing since I moved, and I was like, yeah, that's something I want to get into. I was already very competitive. I was a huge travel baseball player. And the first tournament I was able to get into, I was fortunate enough to win. So from that point on, I was sold. And the network aspect of it is huge. So when I started, or when I look back, the biggest thing that I did as a kid, I was probably 10, 11, I used to go down to my home lake, and I used to go down to the ramp and watch the Tuesday night bass tournaments and watch the weigh-in. And when I go down there, I wasn't old enough to fish them or do any of that, but I loved bass fishing, the passion. And I'd go down there and just watch them weigh in bass, and I'd ask these guys if I could help them release these bass. And I was able to meet some of, right now, my lifelong friends through doing that helped me to this day. So when I fished through the youth circuit and did pretty well. And I got into high school, and that's when everything really started to open up. I got to see a lot more opportunities to help myself out and got to meet a lot of awesome, awesome people in the industry. So the group that I had established through my youth really helped me push on to the next level. They opened a lot of doors as far as business aspects, angling aspects, and they introduced me to a lot of awesome people. So my group, it's really important, especially for youth anglers, to find a group of anglers to help them push forward. For the youth anglers that are fortunate enough to have their dads be their biggest supporter and fisherman in their life, absolutely run with that. I was able to meet my group through fishing these tournaments at home, my Tuesday night club tournaments. Once I got a little older, I used to ride my bike down to the ramp or get a ride from my mom and just see if anyone needed a ride or a partner. And I was fortunate enough to meet a couple guys that gave me the opportunity to ride with them, and I still stay really close with them today. And a couple of those guys have gone on and moved on to be some really successful fishermen, which is really cool. So through high school, another aspect that got introduced to me was social media. And I think this day and age in the bass fishing world, social media has gotten to be incredibly big as far as marketing, meeting new people, communicating. And I was able to talk to a lot of people and get a lot of good information through social media. I was able to get a huge following on Instagram and Facebook, and was able to market myself and get the attention of these guys who helped me out. So, and that's also a huge aspect of how I was able to meet Coach Borton. He had seen some of my Instagram pictures and had messaged my mom on Facebook actually about how old I was and if I'd be interested in the program, and I was able to stay very close to him going through high school and chose to fish for him. So what ways do I currently interact with my network? So as I travel through these college tournaments, we go to lakes that I've never been to and know nothing about. And my network, a lot of my buddies who had, traveled these tournaments that or not tournaments, lakes, but I knew nothing about those lakes. And it's been really helpful with them to provide me information about these lakes that, I'd be able to study and get a good idea of these lakes before going down. And it's helped me out a ton. I mean, for instance, like Bull Shoals and the St. Lawrence River, like these are hours and hours away. And it's, there's social media, there's a lot of, information on social media, the internet, and you can do a lot on there. Navionics, you get to study the bodies of water. But my network of guys who've helped me out, they've been to these bodies of water, and I'm able to, interact with them and text them or call them and ask them, hey, like, I'm going to be fishing this, lake or river, like, how should I, go about approaching this section of the lake for this time of year? And they can give me their insight on it, and I can go with that and run with it through the tournament and really learn. And without that, like, that's a huge learning curve. I mean, bass fishing is such a dynamic sport, and there's so much to learn in it, but it is very hard to get your feet off the ground in it. If it wasn't for these guys that took me under their wing when I was so young, I probably wouldn't be fishing. But I got super fortunate that they believed in me and wanted to help me out. And everything that they taught me, what Coach Borton mentioned, being a sponge, I mean, I soaked in every bit of information I could from them. And that's super important. These two young men down here, I had them in the boat with me for our Adrian College youth camp. And I showed them a certain little bait, and and we caught a lot of fish on it. And he just came up to me today and said, hey, I remember that bait that you showed us, and I went and bought one and built it up, and the first bite I got on it was a 4-pounder. And that's what this sport's all about. That made me so happy to hear that. So thank you guys. I hope I get to have you in the boat again soon.
I have a couple questions for you, Griffin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things I think everybody looks at is you've got to start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And when you were getting started, I mean, it sounds like it's these individuals that you were meeting. We call you ramp tramp. But we call the people that come down to the ramp. But you got to start someplace, right?
Right.
So everybody is sitting in here. You think, you know, well, I don't know this person. I don't. You got to start. And I would assume that that was true with you, that at some point you just had to make that decision. That's what you wanted to do.
Absolutely. And I think I love the background here, the driven by passion, because that's where it really stems, is just having a deep love for this sport. At the end of the day, I just love fishing. I'm sure that just like the rest of you guys, we all love fishing. And you know, I'm ate up by it. I want to know every bit of information I can. I want to spend every second of my life on the water, and I want to give myself every opportunity to advance and grow in this sport. And so when I was that young, it was just simply, you know, I wanted to start tournament fishing, and I wanted to give myself the opportunity to get into it. And luckily, I lived close enough to the lake where I grew up on. I was only a couple minutes down the road, and I was able to get down to the ramp and just see if anyone needed a ride. And
so one more, when you're talking about at the end, the information and the way you use some of that information.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it seems like they feel like they've got to learn it all themselves, right?
Right.
But being able to reach out and ask for help, which is what you're doing, that
Mm-hmm.
must be a key to the success that you're looking at, especially on these other bodies of water.
Yeah, and I don't want to like solely base my tournaments or my fishing off of the information given to me, but if I can get a starting point from these guys, or just a tip to put myself, you know, ahead of the curve going down there, that's what it's about. And
yeah, sometimes it's just a seasonal thing, right?
Yeah.
This time of the year, the fish are at the head of the reservoir or something like that might get you going.
Yeah, exactly. Or just a recommendation like, hey, if you haven't, you know, you should try this bait when you go down there. I don't know if it'll work, but it's something to get an idea. And if it works, I can run with that and find a couple more similar baits. Or if it doesn't work, I can completely avoid that bait.
As a team, do you guys communicate and share everything all the time?
Yes. And that is one of the coolest parts about this team, is how close we all are and how well we all communicate. And so when we go to these lakes, like especially, for example, when we went down to Bull Shoals this year, we only had 2 teams down there. We were fishing against 200 other teams. And we hadn't been qualified for the national championship yet, and we really wanted to qualify. And so both teams took a section of the lake and broke it down per day. And then at the end of the day, we would come back to the hotel room and we'd get on Navionics and we'd bring up pictures of the fish we had caught in practice or the baits we'd been catching them in practice, say, this is what we did today. This is what we noticed. Like the fish were in the backs of the bushes. You had to flip a Z-crawl in a 1/2 ounce weight. They wouldn't touch it with a 3/8 ounce weight. Or, we were way up the river. They were pounding a buzz bait, but we couldn't get a bite on a frog. And we were just able to bounce that information off of each other to, be successful in the tournament. So
the Nautical network really isn't just tied to the people that are external, but it's the people that are immediately around you, like teammates. You probably saw the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to see if I can move this, and we'll maybe... He's going to go to the next one. Aha. You're helping me, aren't you? Thank you. We'll let Adam kind of get in here. As he mentioned, Adam is Pat and I's son. I've known him for quite a while, and I've been watching him as he's gone through the ranks and having the success that he does. So we'll let him, and I'm just going to let you read through instead of me driving for you, if that's all right.
Yeah, Griffin did a great job. It's going to be hard to follow him up. I'm going to walk around because it makes me a little more comfortable. Hopefully you're all comfortable with that. If not, it happens. So my name's Adam Nye, as previously mentioned. My dad, Pat, he is a big part of this, why this is put on. I've been involved in the NPAA, coming to these events for a very long time, and I will say that they're definitely worth it. I grew up in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, the home of the smallmouth. I went to school at UW-Platteville for 4 years, fished on the Platteville fishing team, ended up being president for 1 year. Actually, some of my guys are here from the team that I met when I was there. Just like Griffin said, the team's always really close. We always got along really well, shared information. They're a huge help to us. After school, I ended up going on to the Bassmaster Opens, and last year I fished the Central Opens, and this year I'm moving on to the Easterns, just due to it being closer to me. A lot of the Centrals will be in Texas this year. So how did my experience in the college platform help me out? It's the same way that Griffin said. There's a lot of people that you meet going into the school, the people that are on your team, the people that aren't on your team. I mean, traveling to all these locations, I had zero clue how to catch a largemouth bass, almost. I knew a little bit, but I was a smallmouth fisherman, a walleye fisherman, a salmon fisherman. I knew so little when I went into school about how to catch a largemouth. It was not even funny. And all I wanted to do was be a professional bass fisherman my whole life, and I still didn't know how to catch a largemouth bass that well. Looking back at it, I knew little to nothing. So all the experience throughout college, fishing on the college team, meeting all these people, sponging in the information that we keep repeating over and over, just being a sponge, learning from these people, not just going fishing, just ignoring everything. You watch these people, you sponge information from them, you learn. That's the biggest thing. Meeting all these new people at the college events, learning how to basically break down new bodies of water, and not only that, but these people will be around for a long time. You'll be able to sponge information off them for a long time. I have buddies that I met in college that are now fishing the Opens that I travel with, and that's a huge deal there. Having a network that you can grow of people you know from around the location, so you're not on your own when you're going into these things. Coming out of college, going into the Opens, when I was doing this, I had people I could rely on, that I could talk to, that I would know that they know about these locations that I'm going to, that they know how to make that jump basically as well. People that I've met here that have made that jump from the amateur to the pros, that just had all kinds of information for me that I could use in order to make it easier on myself. What has been the toughest part? Honestly, the toughest part for me would be balancing your finances. I know financials is probably not anything you guys want to talk about, but it's a true deal. You have to be able to have a job that allows you to take off enough time to do the fish, to have 6 to 8 weeks off. You can't have a full-time job. You're only allowed 2 weeks off in a year. You have to have that people that you can rely on that allow you to take off work, allow you to go to these places. Somewhere that's not going to be angry at you for doing that. Not fun returning to a place that your coworkers no longer like you because you've been gone for so long. And having the past relationships are huge. Your parents, my parents, mother's in the back there, allowed me to stay at home after college. They didn't kick me out, thankfully, which saved me a lot of money, allowed me to do this right out of college. And being able to spend your money wisely. I mean, it'd be fun to go out and waste all kinds of money on a brand new truck and a brand new boat, but in reality, coming right out of college and trying to spend so much to fish these tournaments and travel, you're not going to be able to. Finding something that's reasonable in your price range, something that you're not going to, say, take a loan out on in default. I had to learn how to do a loan, which my father helped a lot with. I've never taken a loan out in my life, thankfully to them. And I had to for my boat, which is something that was not easy. There's a lot that goes into it. What ways have you relied on your previous relationships? Basically the same thing I've been talking about, just having the network that you gain throughout fishing, throughout college, throughout the whole time I've been fishing my whole life. There's people that I've met that have helped me make this step. David Ittner is one person that has helped me a ton. I joined the Yamaha Pro Fishing team at the beginning of this year, and he's helped me out tremendously. I've known David for years and years, and he believes in me and trusts me, and it's a very awesome contact and very awesome relationship that I have. Obviously, that's give and take. You can't just expect someone like that to give everything to you without you providing any kind of input, any kind of, what's the word? Value back. Yep, thanks, Jimmy. Him, and I've met multiple people here that I've got value from and given value back to as well. This is a great place to meet people. Every year that I've come here, I've met someone new that's helped me out in my life, helped me make that transition from the college to the Opens. Basically, it's just helped me get to where I am now. So.
I got a question for you, Adam. I mean, you made a comment, and it stuck with me as you were talking through there, and you talked about David Ittner and him believing in you. Mm-hmm. And I think this is probably true for all three of us up here. The key with a lot of these relationships that you're building and this nautical network that you're building is trying to find people that, one, have the same passion for the sport that you do, but also these people that believe in you. I mean, your mom sitting back here, she believed in you. Your dad believed in you. I would think that finding those people is probably very critical, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and definitely. I mean, it's not something that grows up overnight, too. I didn't just meet David and he comes to me and puts the trust into me that he did last year. It's something I've grown throughout the years. I've helped him out where I needed to. I've talked to him multiple occasions and just kept contact with him. It's not something that might happen overnight, but it's definitely possible if you work at it.
And I think that's critical when we're talking to these guys out here is it's not fast. There's nothing that's going to move you. The biggest problem you run into is when you try and get from here to here immediately and you skip all the work that's in between, right? I've known Adam's dad, Pat, for many years. And one of the things that impresses me with this young man is he didn't just rely on Dad, right? He could have gone out there and said, well, my dad knows everybody in the industry. I'm just going to ride on his shirt tails as I go through there. So he didn't do that. He put the work in, and that's part of the whole thing when you're trying to put this network together is there's work that's involved. It's not just all easy stuff, and you've got to do that. There's a reason David Ittner believed in him is because of all the things that you're talking about before, where you went and you did that type of work. I'm sure, Griffin, it was the same for you. You talk about going down and helping them handle bass and doing all that stuff. That's the work that's got to be involved in it. So my hat goes off to you for not just... you could have rode on Dad's shirt tails because Dad does know just about everybody in this industry, as you know. Everyone. But you work at it and you follow your own path. Mm-hmm. All right, if we can maybe switch to the next one. Hey, look at that. That's me. Thank you. And if I'm off a little bit, I'm worried about my partner yet because I haven't heard back on my text how he's doing out there. So my name's Jimmy Bell. I was the president of the NPAA. I'm now a board member. This is my last year that I'll be in. I'm going to age myself a little bit. So I started in the fishing industry in 1994. And I'll give you a little story about how having somebody that believes in you works. 1994, I was a walleye angler, and my wife Allison said, Jimmy, there's this new circuit called Cabela's North American Walleye Anglers that started, and I think you should sign up and do all the events. I said, are you crazy? I'd be fishing against, the best walleye anglers in the nation. I can't do that. She says, I believe in you. I think you can. I went down in 94. My very first tournament was on the Mississippi River in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It was a 3-day event. I went down there and I took first place and won $25,000 at my very first event. At that point, the wife believed in me just a little bit more, and I started to believe in myself. So it's critical when you build these networks that you've got these people that do believe in what you're doing. Through my years, I continued on the walleye side. I was ranked #1 in the nation. I was Professional Rookie of the Year, Professional Angler of the Year. I've won 3 national events. So I did well on the walleye side. But then I started to see all this bass stuff come in. I started to see all the student stuff come in. And I made a move and decided that I wanted to spend my time working to create more opportunities for student anglers. So we started a nonprofit called the Student Angler Tournament Trail. If you were in the earlier sessions, you heard me just mention it a little bit, but we ran last year, what did we have total? 6, 8 events total, I think. And we run competitive events for students. Our first event, we filled in 21 minutes with 300 students and 150 boat captains. Through the year, we filled, I think the last one we filled was almost 10 minutes to get from no anglers to 150 anglers. So I love it. It's a passion of mine. What I like seeing is gentlemen like this that are getting started, first row, second rows, to this, right? That's my whole goal, is to try and get these guys to be these guys. And I love it. I truly do. Seth asked me to kind of give some examples of where this networking has helped myself. And I'm going to kind of stray off a little bit because I think we all assume that these networks are going to be people that are in the fishing industry. And I'm here to tell you firsthand that that's not always the case. There's amazing opportunities when you're meeting other people. This photo that you see right here, this is a brigadier general from Camp Ripley. If you've been here before, you may have heard a guy named Scott St. Sauber. He used to be the commander at Camp Ripley. He handed it off to this brigadier general here himself. The opportunities that you get to meet these people, you would say, how is this gentleman going to help me in the fishing industry, right? But as I meet him, I start to learn that they've got an event at Camp Ripley. It's called Trolling for Troops. And you go to that event, and the brigadier general invites you and wants you to be there. And then all of a sudden, it's Al Linder's there, Jimmy Linder's there, Ron Scher is there. All the people from the industry are at this event because I networked with a brigadier general. So the opportunities that you want to look at, don't just get locked into the fishing industry. There's other things in the industry itself. You know, you've got all these people around here, and I look at these guys. I mean, one of my recommendations would be each one of you should have a business card. So when you're talking to these people, you've got something that you can give them that they have your contact information, right? So when you start networking with these people, you know, you don't want to just try and grab their information. You want to try and give them some information. And it's easy to do. It's cheap to do. You can get 500 business cards for nothing. It's got your email address, might have your Instagram, your Facebook, phone number. So if they want to contact you, we get Seth wants to call somebody and say, hey, you interested in being on the Adrian fishing team? He's got that card he can pull out and say, hey, I've been looking at this guy. He's got his email now, and I can do that. So that'd be one of the recommendations that I'd have. It's all about networking when you're here, right? We talked about this earlier. We're not coming here to necessarily always learn to be a better fisherman. We're not learning how to pitch or how to flip. You might get the secret bait from him, and I'm still going to find out. Trust me, I'm good at networking. I'm going to find somebody that's going to tell me the secret color around here. But it's all about the people that are here and making those relationships. If I look at myself over 25 years in this industry, one of the things that I will remember, and trust me, to be in this industry for 25 years, you got to be doing something right. And the right is building relationships with these people and these contacts that you get, right? You can go into these things and just meet somebody and make it a business transaction, or you can make it a personal transaction. We all look at the industry, and some of you that are just coming up might think that it's a big industry. Trust me, it's not. Dave, it's not. People roll around into all of these roles. So somebody you might have been working with today at company A might be with company B tomorrow. So there's two things that happen. If I make a business transaction, I say, it's all about the business, it's all about the money. What do I got to do in my contract for something that's there? If I make it all about that and not the individual that's there, well, if that individual goes, that contract may stay, it may not. But if I know the people in the organization and I've got that relationship with them, it makes a big difference. Now, if they move someplace else, say they go someplace else and you want to go there, I guarantee you that if you've had a good relationship with that person and they go from Rapala to Strike King and you're interested in Strike King, you've got the door open already because you've already done the right things. They believe in you. They worked with you. It wasn't about the business. And just like Griffin and everybody else said, you got to do the extra work. This can't be you go in and you do the minimum and expect to get something. That's not the way it works. You will work your tail off at the beginning. Another interesting fact when you get done, is he doing okay? Okay. 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 Thank you for helping. So as you look at this industry, one of the things you've got to remember is, one, like I said, it's about the relationships that are in there and growing those relationships and just making sure that you're doing all that hard work at the beginning. Because what happens, I'm going to give you a little hint here, is people like me that have been in this for a long time, the old guys, many of them get lazy. So they work their butts off to get to here, and they get lazy. If you can out-hustle them at the bottom side and work your way back up, right now people are looking for something called value. What is it that you can help me do? Usually that's help sell product, right? You got to be able to do something. So if you can do that work that other people aren't doing, what Griffin talked about, that's going to give you a great opportunity. And trust me, like I said, there's a lot of guys that get up and they get lazy and they don't want to hustle anymore. And if you out-hustle them, you've got an amazing opportunity to go. So I've worked on the relationship piece of it. It's worked for me. Like I say, I've been in this industry for over 25 years. I was with Yamaha for just over 20 years, but I still consider David Ittner one of my best friends. That's the way this industry should work. That's the way everything should work, right? We're all in this. You want to go have a good time. You want to compete. You want to do all these things, but it's all about life and just enjoying yourself at the same time. Can I go to the next slide? Now I'm going to get into some of his other slides. Oh, so now we're going to ask if anybody here's got questions for anybody in the front group. Yes.
Well, probably the best one for me, out of all of them, definitely the Mississippi. I mean, it's close. It's only largemouth in the stretch we were on. I mean, you can catch a smallmouth, but you might beat your head against the wall for 12 hours to catch one. So definitely the Mississippi was huge. When I first got there, I did not know how to flip at all. I used a spinning rod the first time, I'll admit it. It was not pretty. I caught fish doing it, but just a week into it, first week I was there, I realized this is not going to work. I went and got the right equipment and just learned how to do it. And that river, I mean, it changes constantly. It's probably the best thing I've been on to teach me different ways and how to break down a body of water, because every year is different. I mean, every year it even looks different. And you might hit a sandbar that's 100 yards downriver from where it was the year before. So it's just an awesome body of water to learn on.
Yeah, I agree. Hello? Oh, he did. He's tricking me. So I agree with him. The rivers are probably one of the best places that you can actually learn. When we fish walleye tournaments and we went to rivers, us river rats, I grew up on the river, loved it because half your field was knocked out right away. They didn't understand current seams, anything like that. So learning to fish in them river situations, I think, is probably one of the biggest things you can do to get out there. Somebody, let's all agree one thing up here, okay? We're going to be honest, right? We're going to tell the truth. Because then I can get one of you guys to ask him what the secret color is over there, and he can't lie, so... No, you're not going to give it up over there? No? Gosh. All right, any other questions?
I actually have a comment on something.
Go.
Basically, it was about not messing up a relationship. Basically, I've seen so many people in the short amount of time I've been in this industry change from one position to the next and jump companies. It's so important just not to basically anger anyone and ruin any relationship you have and basically burn a bridge, so to say, because you can see someone move from one position to the next and be someone that might not be affecting you now, but 5 years down the road, that person could be in a position that would hurt you, basically.
I agree. I mean, you never want to burn a bridge. And the other thing is, and the power, you talked about social media and everything that's on the social media side is, and all of us have seen it, somebody bashing another brand or doing something. It is the kiss of death in this industry. Do not do it. I mean, figure out a way to say something positive, even if it's someplace that you came from. So I was with, Ranger Boats and went to another boat company. I'm not going to bash Ranger Boats. There's good parts of every company that's out there. Talk about the positives of the company you're with, and don't just jump to a company because they're going to give you a product or whatever. Believe in it, because people will figure out if you don't believe in it. You need to believe in the product that you're using. It's critical. Griffin, wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think the topic you guys just covered is huge, and you unfortunately do see it a lot anymore today. And this does seem like a huge industry, but I can promise you it is not. This is one of the most tight-knit industries of any sport out there. If you go and happen to burn a bridge and you think it won't affect you, I promise you it probably will come back to bite you, because that person that you burned it with probably knows someone that is really helping you out. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, just to go on that, and being in the industry for a long time, I can tell you the other thing that happens is David Ittner talks to Mercury, talks to Evinrude, talks to everybody. They all communicate to each other. So if you're saying something bad about one company and go to another company, guess what? They're all going to know. So think about what you're doing, thinking about what you're posting, and just be good about it. Just be good people. Help each other out. There's no reason to bash somebody. Usually what happens is it's jealousy. You're doing well and somebody else thinks you must be doing something wrong if you're doing something well. Help build people up, and then the industry will see that you're doing that. Questions? I think we're going to let everybody go. We're about 6:30, which is right about our time, and I'm going to go check on your coach and make sure he's doing okay. I would think that he's going to. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We really appreciate it, and I hope some of the information was helpful.